Hey guys, Adrian here. Today I'm doing a mega review of several PC components, all of these provided by DeepCool. Last year, DeepCool announced their rebrand of the company. Part of the announcement are their new products that would carry the said rebrand. The most notable change came with their product repackaging. Instead of a blue and white box for its early products, or the dark gray emerald box for products before 2021, the latest box design harkens back to its original full white color, this time having the emerald green color for its accent and pixel elements. However, other boxes like power supplies, cases, and other large components now use a simple brown box which has the emerald green accent colors and labeling. And in some mid-sized boxes, they come with a cardboard sleeve or sticker carrying the white and green colors along with the product information. This simplifies and reduces the cost of creating custom packaging, and in this way, savings is passed on to us users. The products covered are the CG560 case, the PQ850M power supply, the AK620 dual tower CPU cooler, and the FC120 case fan. The CG560 is a high airflow mid-tower case with a tempered glass side panel. The dimensions of the case are at 452 by 230 by 470 mm. That's the length, width, and height. It's a relatively short yet tall case, but it is wide enough to fit in tall CPU tower coolers of up to 175 mm in height. Included are three 120 mm RGB fans that can be controlled by a button on the front panel. A large 140 mm fan provides exhaust, while there are magnetic filters for the top, bottom, and front fans. The front panel is completely made out of plastic and has a large cross-shaped pattern holes for air to pass through. It can fit a variety of motherboards from the small mini ITX to the big AATX. The flexibility of the case is not limited to the motherboard, but even for liquid cooling. The CG560 allows for a configuration of one 240 mm or 280 mm radiator on top and one 360 mm in front of the case. Two 2.5-inch drives can be mounted directly to the motherboard tray, and GPUs with lengths of up to 380 mm can be installed. There is a removable drive cage inside the power supply shroud that accepts two 3.5-inch hard drives or a combination of 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drives. Power supplies of up to 150 mm in length will fit snugly in the case. There are multiple points for attaching cable ties for cable management too. Now, some observations I found while building a computer with this case. First, if installing multiple 2.5 SSDs, the first two would need to be installed at the back of the motherboard tray before the motherboard. There are no detachable drive sleds included. Second, attaching a 360 mm AIO in front would affect the length of the GPU that can be installed. Aside from that, we might as well need to remove the hard drive cage. For this, I would recommend getting a 240 mm or 280 mm AIO and install it up on top, and having its fans configured for exhaust. Finally, the included front fans are PWM fans and can be controlled by the motherboard's application or through the BIOS. However, these fans are using the old RGB connector. They are not compatible with the newer ARGB header and therefore have basic lighting effects. Airflow inside the case is good even with the wire mesh filter installed. Cable management is easy, allowing me to thread several cable ties at strategic points. I also noticed that the thickness of the metal panels of the case are on the thin side. They're a bit bendy and it's incredibly light without the tempered glass panel installed. While it can support a maximum radiator size of 420 mm, it's best to just install a smaller 240 mm or 280 mm AIO. This is to improve better circulation of cold air coming in from the front. Now, for users looking to set up multiple drives, note that you'll be limited to mostly 2.5-inch drives and a maximum of two 3.5-inch drives. Other than that, the CG560 is flexible, allowing a great deal of hardware variations like the motherboard and CPU cooler to be installed. Next up, DeepCool PQ850M. The DeepCool PQ850M is an 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply. It is fully modular and comes with an appropriate number of modular cables that befits a modern PC. The PQ series serves as an upgrade of the venerable DQ series of modular power supplies from DeepCool. According to my contact with DeepCool, the internal design and build of the PSU comes from Seasonic. In particular, Seasonic's focus line of modular power supplies. This can be confirmed by checking other reviews and forum posts regarding the PQ series. We have here Tech Power Up's review of the PQ1000M, and they did compare its internals with Seasonic's Focus 1000. How is it installation wise? It uses black plastic ribbon cables, and these are flat in nature and by default looks good enough to use in any kind of PC installation. The PQ850M doesn't use modular cables, having split connectors as a way to avoid overloading a single line. PCIe and EPS 12 volt, or better known as CPU power cables, all have one set of connectors per cable, avoiding this from happening. The PC build for this test uses Intel's 12th generation i7-12700K on an Asus ROG B660F Strix motherboard that utilizes two CPU power headers for boosting performance. True that while the B660 chipset does not allow manual overclocking, it does leverage Intel's Turbo Boost technology. Given the PQ850M's max power is at 850 watts, there's enough headroom to accommodate higher CPU boost clock and GPU clock. The PQ850M is well packaged, well-designed power supply with a good background. It supports high-end boards and GPUs requiring triple PCIe connectors. Price-wise, it's very affordable for its type. Though its grille design uses DeepCool's pixel aesthetic, it can be a dust magnet. Overall, though, if it's installed in a case with ample dust filtering, dust shouldn't be a problem. Now, how did I manage to cool down the 12700K while it's running a benchmark and using its boost? Enter the AK620. The last time I owned an Intel i7 machine, I had this big chunky CPU tower cooler from Cooler Master called the V8. It was really clunky and heavy as it had 4 sets of cooling fins. Now, later versions of air coolers now feature a more basic dual power configuration as an improvement of the design. Now, DeepCool has its own set of designs, and one of these is the AK620. The AK620 has a more compact design compared to the older DeepCool Assassin 3, which is wider and taller. The dual 120mm TWM fans are flush fit with the tower, leaving just enough space for RAM modules to fit in. While the fan covers the memory slots of the motherboard, a maximum clearance of 47mm for RAM is the limit. With the memory I had on hand during the test, the Kingston Fury memory fits in perfectly. My other RAM modules from Thermaltake and T-Force would not fit, these being a few millimeters higher. My OCPC will fit, having 0.1 mm clearance from the fan. The fans are secured with metal clips, and users have the option to attach the front fan to the rear or slightly higher, but that will affect the airflow and interfere with the side panel. The package comes with a mounting plate and brackets that should fit in LGA 1200, 1151, 1156, and brackets for AM4 and AM3. However, with the latest LGA 1700 motherboard, they may allow this mounting plate and bracket for LGA 1200 like Asus. But if it's from another company that did not have backwards compatibility to all their mounts, then you can get the LGA 1700 kit. The AK620 fits well in most ATX cases. However, those using certain cases like the regular Lian Li 011D model will have a fitment issue. The DeepCool CK560 case that I'm also reviewing doesn't have this, and mounting the AK620 on the brackets is similar to the AS and Assassin models. These use two spring-loaded screws to connect to the brackets. The springs provide tension directly to the CPU. As for the actual cooling performance, I've tested the AK620 on an Intel i7-12700K. Idle temps are around 33 degrees, while running benchmarks like Cinebench nets a maximum temperature of 87 degrees for all cores. While the AK620 is a big CPU air cooler that's perfectly capable for cooling modern CPUs like the 12th Gen Intel i7. Careful consideration must be taken when pairing with memory, as there's a 47 mm height restriction. Also, it's best to just get a non-RGB RAM with low-profile heat spreaders, unless you're willing to move the front fan to the rear of the tower into a pull configuration. Last, I can see that DeepCool put in effort with designing the tower cooler's overall design, giving a chess or checkerboard pattern, which I find appealing. And in a movement where RGB is becoming the norm, having no lights give it a minimalist look. The FK series fans that are included are also available to buy separately. These are hydraulic bearing fans, constitute DeepCool's latest design change for high-performance cooling. Adding a third fan on the AK620 might be overkill, but it's entirely possible. Finally, I'll go over DeepCool's new case fan, the FC120. The DeepCool FC120 case fan is not your run-of-the-mill case fan. DeepCool, for the longest time, has delivered a ton of different case fans from the basic X-Fan series to the TF FK series, and I'm even using their MF120 GT series case fans for my primary PC. Despite having a basic design, the FC120 is DeepCool's take on creating a unifan setup for case fans. DeepCool found their own way to implement a method for connecting fans together. However, unlike Lian Li's unifan design, it doesn't use direct contact points and notches to connect the fans. Instead, the FC120 uses a very simple form of daisy chaining. We simply connect the short ribbon cable from one fan to the next, and this cable carries each of the wires used for PWM and ARGB. The last ribbon cable then connects to an extension cable called the RGB power interconnect cable that connects to the PWM and ARGB header, as well as SATA. It's important to emphasize the SATA connector as it powers all of the fans connected. This does away the need to identify if power is coming from the PWM header or SATA. In the end, it avoids the possibility of shorting three or more fans daisy chained in one go. The PWM connector doesn't have wires going to the power and ground parts of a PWM header. This is a problem I've encountered with other PWM fans that have daisy chain cables and users accidentally plugging in the SATA and PWM plugs. Some downsides, however, include the lack of attachment options for the daisy chained fans. I had to carefully plan out and attach the fans to the case after daisy chaining them together. And I noticed the ribbon cables are prone to tearing if mishandled, like the cable rubs against metal corners of a case. And as mentioned, FC120 fans are daisy chained before attaching to the PC case. And to ensure nice looking cable management, the ribbon cables are hidden nicely and the RGB power interconnect cable runs through the bottom side of the case and along the rear of the PSU shroud. For testing, I used the CK560 case and swapped the included case fans for the FC120. As observed, fan noise remains quiet while the PC is running on idle, with minor increase in noise when the fans run at higher RPM. Airflow-wise, it pushes in air well. Intake fans in front of the CG560 pushes in cold air inside even with its filter and front cover attached. The top-mounted fans exhaust hot air upwards. That's about it with the installation and test run. The DeepCool FC120 is a unique take of the Unifan concept, and while its implementation is not the most elegant, it still manages to simplify installation and clean up cable management. And that does it for this mega review. Prices of these parts are in the description, as well as their link to their official store in Lazada. A big thank you to DeepCool for lending out these parts. Like and subscribe to our channel. Keep yourselves updated with the latest trends in PC technology. This is Adrian, PC content contributor for DR On The Go, and until next time.